First to Hillary Mann Leverett, the former National Security Council Director for Iran and Persian Gulf Affairs, who left the Bush administration last year. Great, thanks for your time tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Chaos already evident in the wake of the assassination. One would hope, but not really believe, that it's likely that this is going to be the extent of the unrest. What's the worst case scenario? Is it civil war? And what's the best case scenario?
I think a very bad case scenario, of course, is civil war. But the critical problem for the United States is the opening that this provides to al-Qaeda to deepen and broaden its support in Pakistan, as you said, a country with nuclear weapons, but also a critical Muslim country at the heart of the Muslim world. We will have, al-Qaeda will have the opportunity of a lifetime to entrench itself in the Pakistani state.
But if there is any connection to al-Qaeda, or even if there's just a perceived one, even if this was just a traditional Pakistani political hit job, would there not be a significant backlash of the kind that Ms. Bhutto spoke about in that interview with Ann Curry, even after her passing?
Well, it's a backlash in a way because it's provoked this kind of chaos, or this specter of chaos, which al-Qaeda feeds on. It feeds on the chaos and the growing sense of anti-Americanism within Pakistan. You're now going to have all of the Pakistani military and intelligence services focused internally rather than in dealing with the threat from al-Qaeda. And that's what I see as the most significant problem for the United States right now, is that al-Qaeda will be left unchecked in the western province of Waziristan and able to really gain ground, really deepen and infiltrate its whole presence and network throughout Pakistan.
President General Musharraf already had declared a state of emergency ahead of the elections because of a perceived general threat to his power. It would seem whoever caused this today, Musharraf certainly can claim it's terrorism, can claim that it needs more clamping down on democracy, and any deficiencies in his democracy, he can, and others who defend him, can dismiss them as temporary events, temporary setbacks. How likely is it now that the January 8th parliamentary elections are going to proceed as scheduled?
I think it is pretty likely. You had President Bush come out today. His response was that Pakistan needed to proceed with these elections. It was quite a remarkable response because the leading contender, the leading party for those elections, their head has just been killed, so they're not really contending in the elections anymore. And the other party has vowed to boycott. So we know what the result of these elections are going to be. They're going to be resounding support from Musharraf, even if it's not a popular election in our sense of the word. And the president has seen and done this before. He called on the Palestinians similarly to call elections, and then Hamas was elected. There's no secret, there's no doubt who's going to benefit from these elections. So even if Musharraf does tighten the state of emergency, I think that it's in his interest to have the elections. And for President Bush to push him in that regard, knowing what the result is going to be, we've seen this bad movie before.
Her letter before she returned from the exile in Dubai, and this email revealed today in which she said basically that she would hold, almost from the grave, she's holding Musharraf responsible. How does that resonate in that country?
I think it will intensify the sectarian divisions. Benazir Bhutto had a base of support, but she also was very unpopular. She was twice prime minister and literally twice chased out of office on corruption charges. She was one of the key sponsors of the Taliban on the eve of their hosting of al-Qaeda. She certainly had opposition, and this may bolster her constituency, but I think what it will do, it will bolster other constituencies as well and further the divides, further the chaos, and coming back to your first scenario of civil war, I think that's what we're pushed toward.
And what's our best case scenario? The former UN ambassador Bill Richardson, who, even though a Democrat, was entrusted by President Bush to lead at least the unofficial diplomatic talks with North Korea, said on his campaign trail today, let me quote it exactly, President Bush should press Musharraf to step aside, and a broad-based coalition government consisting of all the Democratic parties should be formed immediately, leaving aside the possibility of that actually happening on the ground in Pakistan. Is that the best course of action for this country right now, to press for that to occur?
I think that's to take Bush's flawed policy of relying on Benazir Bhutto to save Pakistan and to solve our al-Qaeda problem. I think it takes that flawed policy to another level. It's tantamount to if we sent a high-level envoy to Iraq and we told the Iraqis just to form a coalition of like-minded, good citizens across various sectarian divides and solve their problem, otherwise we're going to cut off our military aid and take our troops and go home. As ineffective as that would be for Iraq, it would be similarly ineffective to do for Pakistan. Pakistan. This administration, I think, has so mishandled the bilateral relationship with Pakistan that we don't have a good option, but we don't have an option to force a coalition together. We need to be looking regionally and to look for a cooperative regional security approach that deals with the Pashtun problem. That's not just a Pakistani problem. It goes into Afghanistan, and that's the heart of the jihadist problem. Can only be solved regionally. A continued focus on either Musharraf all or nothing or a coalition that undermines Musharraf is going to continue to spiral the mess in Pakistan out of control.
If we can solve Pashtun in 6 months instead of the last 60 years, and we haven't, that will be quite an accomplishment. Hillary Mann Leverett, the former National Security Council Director for Iran and the Persian Gulf, we thank you greatly for your analysis tonight.
Thank you.